Before we start the tour proper, this will take 1 hour. We'll deliver you back at the hotel there where we'll pick you up in exactly 1 hour's time. Gas sands off these ships. That's history. There has been many searches over the years for this bounty. Yes. So this is quite an impressive sight we see here out the windows. These wind turbines, you see the columns over there? These are 90 metres high. They're for the NNG wind farm, which is about 12 miles away from where we are just now, off the coast. That we are working with here is Siemens, so it's all Siemens kit. We expect many more. You'll see the site looks quite busy, but there's many more vessels to arrive in. I'll talk a bit about some of the industry that we've seen over many years in that particular area and what we think we're going to see going forward. King George Wharf, it's a quayside that's 440 metres long. At the lowest part of the tide there, authorities in Scotland and used over the winter to salt our roads. Dundee's imported around about 200,000 tonnes in the last 18 months or so, and we're considered a strategic storage location for this distribution. Just we approach these tanks here. This is a facility called Ninas. It was an oil refinery originally. It's now they don't refine oil anymore. It's a bitumen storage facility, and we get bitumen tankers coming into port regularly. And the bitumen is transferred via a series of pipelines into these tanks, and it's warm stored. It goes into making roads, laying new roads, repairing roads. It's distributed all over the country. Sheds 10, 11 and 12. At the height of the jute industry, these sheds would all have been full from floor to ceiling with jute products. So we'll pause here for a minute, folks, and let you can have a look at this jack-up oil rig. You can see the name there, the Valaris 121. So this has been in port for a few months. They're exploration rigs. They come into Dundee for repair, for maintenance, for insurance inspections to be carried out. This one had quite a big work scope. Out our left side here, you'll see a brand new Valaris warehouse. Four Ports built that. They invested the money to build that warehouse for Valaris. And Valaris have given us Dundee this year. I think we've done 5 or 6 already. Very popular. Feedback has been fantastic from the cruise operators. We've got a 90+% approval rate. So go into the surrounding areas, and it's a massive boost to the economy. And again, it's a part of the Dundee trade that's been increasing slowly and steadily over the years. As I said, 15 this year. I know there's at least 15 booked in already for next year. So it's really good. The cruise operators love it, the passengers love it. It's a really positive experience for them. These sheds on our right hand side, these are currently full of fertiliser. So Dundee is a very important strategic agri-hub in Scotland. So we'll do lots and lots of fertiliser imports from places like the Baltic particularly. We do about 200,000 tonnes of imports a year. The fertiliser is stored in bulk in these warehouses. It's mixed, blended and bagged. You can just see some bags there as we pass this open door. So these bags are about a tonne each. So the fertiliser is mixed, blended and bagged in these sheds and then sold and distributed to farms all over Scotland and North England. So as we move on through the port, folks, out right and left hand side of the bus, you'll see these packs of timber with sod on the side. So that demonstrates the links that we maintain currently. This timber comes from Sweden, from a company called Sodra. Gates. We do an awful lot of building related materials, so cement, sand, gravel. Each and every one of us produce an awful lot of waste, rubbish, every day, every week in our homes. Just out our right hand side here, folks, you'll see some of the cranes and the specialist trailers that we use to move the wind turbines about, these SPMTs that I mentioned earlier on. So these trailers, they're remote operated trailers that take very, very significant loads. Some pretty specialist training involved to be given a licence to operate these. Folks, these big green tanks you see just out your right hand window, these are for a company that we manage the sites for a company called Omex. Inside these tanks is liquid fertiliser, so not only do we do the bulk fertiliser, we do liquid fertiliser as well. So very large vessels come to Dundee, tankers full of liquid fertiliser, it's pumped from the vessels into these tanks, and road-going tankers come in, they'll take the fertiliser and again distribute to local farms. It just reinforces the importance of the strategic importance of Dundee as an agri-hub for Scotland. So I think just as we pull up here, this location gives you a good idea of the length of the blades. and you can see the curvature on these blades. A lot of people think the blades are straight. Really curved blades, and that's for maximum power generation when they're bolted onto the nacelles and the turbine towers are specifically designed to capture even the smallest amount of wind. Each blade is matched in sets of 3 matched blades. If one gets damaged, then you need to fix 3 of them. That's really how these go. So it's very important that when we start to move these about the site, that we know exactly what we're doing, where we're going. The guys that are trained are really well trained to avoid obviously any damage. It's hugely costly to repair. Dundee complies and goes above the standard that they're required to. We came through a secure gate this morning. The guard on the gate expected us, but anyone else coming in, they'll get checked for ID and so on. So we know who's coming into port, who's leaving the port. The whole port's covered with CCTV. So again, annual audits done from people like HMRC to make sure that we're fully compliant. We had one a month ago. So these are the bits that bolt onto the top of the towers, and inside that is all the electronics required to generate the power. So it converts the power from the blades as it turns into electricity. It's fed down through the tower with a very fancy cabling system. The subsea cable runs from the wind farm and it hits land, and from there it's distributed through various substations into the national grid.